Welcome back to our podcast. If you remember us from the last time, our last episode, our intro episode, which received only 4 views, which
Impressive.
is quite success. Um, Now we're creating a second episode, and this will probably be the first episode in a series about smartphones and how they affect us, about the way they affect our social life and our motivation to study and do something useful in our life. But first, let's say hi. I'm Ovi,
I'm
Hi
Tommy.
for me. I'm Alex.
and we're going to start off with a story that happened to me like a few weeks ago. So when I hung out with a friend of mine and we were going back home, like we had 20 minutes until we reach home, and we basically ran out of things to talk about. But yet we did some small talk, and my friend opened his phone and started looking at Instagram, and I asked him, "Well, why are you doing this? Like, don't you feel interested in the topic in the discussion?" He says, "Well, not that I don't feel interested, but I'm just checking something." And I was like, "Okay, there is no problem. You're my friend, but I feel quite, I don't know, annoyed with what you just did. I mean, it's disrespectful." And this this event encouraged me to create this podcast to share with you guys about it. And yeah, so you get my point, I guess.
Yeah, actually, in my personal experience, I've seen something similar before as well. Like, for me, I have this close friend of mine, uh, with whom I hang out kind of rarely. Like, every few months, we'll meet, yeah, let's say once a month. Once a month is accurate. And anytime we meet, we always have a lot to say to each other. But what ends up happening is that I'm talking or he's telling a story, and he gets a notification on his phone and he just starts staring at it like for 2 minutes and stops talking. And the thing is, he's interested in a convo. It's not that it's boring to him. It's just like a tick he can't control. Anytime he sees something on his phone, he has to know what it is, and that kind of disrupts the whole conversation and makes us meeting a little bit more, mm, actually less meaningful. It makes less meaningful, let's say.
Yeah, I think that each of our listeners could totally relate to our topic for this episode because I'm sure that everybody has had such a story uh, and something to happen like this. Not being able to have a meaningful conversation with a friend or relative of yours because they just can't stop looking at their phone.
Yeah, you're right. And
I think
this
it's
is something on a larger scale. Yeah, sorry for interrupting you. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think it's a really global social issue, and I think we should be working a lot more into solving it.
Yeah, it's high time somebody started talking about it, and it's something that I also notice in the public transport or at the bus station or everywhere, even in the breaks in school, which we finished like a few weeks ago. But still, anyway, people are just, and especially people below the age of 50, 55, 60, they just can't put their phone down. And when you get on the bus, when I get on the bus, I see like for example, 20 people, and at least 15 of them are looking at their phones, either listening to music and looking at their phone, or only scrolling Facebook or Instagram. And I sit somewhere and I think, okay, I can either open my phone or look through the windows of the bus and try to entertain myself with something, I don't know, more meaningful. And even sometimes I think about actually talking to the person next to me, but when I see them looking at their phone, I feel completely discouraged to do it. Do you relate?
Yeah, I think that such situation is really off-putting because I mean, you think seeing a person like this, you think that he won't be able to, even if you start talking to them. I don't think he'll be able to have a really long and meaningful conversation. I think he'll be bored in a few minutes and just back to his phone, and you won't be able to do anything there. You won't be able to make to establish a connection of some sort. And I think that everybody is going more and more distant from the people around them, not only just friends and relatives, but everybody. And I think that this is um, due to the long screen time we have right now. And yeah,
Uh, for me, I find it most challenging to not use my phone in those like just boring times, like on the bus or in toilet or just doing something like I'm sitting somewhere or waiting for something to happen. And that's the like in my mind that's the best time to use your phone because what else can you do? But what ends up happening is that you kind of get zombified because you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, you start doing it at times when you can do something more beneficial to you,
yeah, I
Yeah,
or
totally
you're
agree.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
you
even
start
doing
lazing around way too much.
Yeah, I think that even doing it at such times as you said, in the toilet or on the bus station when you're really bored, I think that it contributes to, getting addicted, I would say, to, yeah, just scrolling around Instagram or social media. And they're basically shortening your attention span more and more. And you just want this quick content, this short amusement.
Yeah, quick burst
So,
of serotonin.
Yeah.
yeah, is the
Dopamine
drive for it.
dominantly.
Yeah,
It
okay, okay,
becomes a
okay.
drive.
Biology students.
Yeah, and it's completely involuntary when you think about it. It's something it isn't something that you do consciously, let's say so. And I don't know what are the reasons for this, but just as you said, probably that dosage of dopamine that you get when you open the phone and that short amusement you receive from looking at some stupid TikTok or Instagram video or reel. And I believe that this is not something only about TikTok and Instagram. It's also about Twitter and Facebook. Because when you open your phone and in such situation, when you're in the bus or in the toilet, you don't usually open your email, for example, or you don't open uh, some article about something that interests you, but you usually open your Instagram and start looking at some stupid pictures, images, or
Yeah, you open social media.
yeah, some dumb videos which aren't even funny. And it's all about the attention span. It affects our attention span, and this doesn't only project onto our social life, but also on our personal life when we try to do something more meaningful. Just as we said, studying or working, it affects us
Uh,
in all fields of life.
okay, but let me just ask you, when you've caught yourself scrolling, let's say, for instance, Instagram, because it's the most commonly used one here in Bulgaria, so you probably scrolling Instagram the most. Uh, do you find yourself doing it like mindlessly without
Yeah,
thinking?
yeah,
Yeah, just
completely
robotically, like
mindlessly. Yeah,
I,
completely
w- I would
mechanically.
I would like to say something here. A situation that happened today. As you said, you were using Instagram and other social media when you were bored. So today, when I went to the toilet and instinctively uh, s- grabbed my phone, I was actually wanting to watch a YouTube video that I just began to watch before I went to toilet, and I immediately uh, scrolled to Instagram and opened it and started looking at reels. And like 10 minutes later, I realized what I was about to do before I started doing it.
Yeah,
So I think really it's a
instinctive.
big
It's
issue, and
completely
it's not only
instinctive.
Instagram. I mean, YouTube are also joining on the reels thing. The short
Yeah,
videos that are there,
yeah,
but
yeah. Shorts and yeah.
yeah. but also like let's say for example Twitter, I don't think they have like shorts, but they allow for more extensive videos. I mean, they don't have the restrictions of YouTube or Instagram, and they don't have the age restrictions of YouTube and Instagram. So Twitter is expanding its content, and I think it's making it more lucrative for the users. So even though they don't have reels, I think they're just as addictive as the other platforms, as their competitors.
And I want to mention something here. I personally have subscribed to a website which sends me articles daily about science, some scientific articles, and I try, instead of opening my Instagram when I'm in the toilet or scrolling mindlessly when I'm taking a break from studying, for example, I try to open my Gmail and read an article, which is much better, I believe. And that thing about spending time in Instagram, it's like a tick, like a spasm of I don't know, your nervous system. You basically just open the phone without intending to do so, and you just mindlessly open Instagram. Not only scrolling mindlessly, but also opening it mindlessly without thinking about it. Just
Yeah,
it's just your brain having that reflex of opening an application that you think is going to bring you some joy, but it usually doesn't. It fails to
Well,
do so.
I remember watching an episode from Black Mirror, the Netflix TV series, and as we know, it's set in the future. And they had this episode where your everything was based on social media. Your life status was based on your social media.
oh yeah,
Everybody
I've
would.
seen that.
Do you
I've seen
remember
that.
this one? Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
would go for a date or just hang out, for example, and they would just constantly look in their phones and send each other feedbacks and ratings. And
yeah.
I
Five
think,
stars. The five.
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah, yeah.
5 stars. And I think we're not that away from
Not
such
far.
an era or time. Yeah, I think, well, it's happening right now. I mean, we talked about it. When you go out, you immediately start looking at your phone and social media. We're not at that point where your life depends on it. But I mean, if you apply for work somewhere, even not a tech company, but generally, if you apply somewhere, I think they would like to look at your social media and see. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. I mean, not only in tech companies, but it's a thing where they check your social media and uh, look if you're into such things. And I think it helps further for your application.
Yeah, bigger companies do that. They don't look only at your CV, but also your
Yeah,
social
yeah, yeah,
medias, and they usually follow them. And if you post something uh, inappropriate, they tend to charge you in some way, or to at
Really?
least warn you
Oh,
not to do that.
I've seen that in America. Not only in America, but I've only heard about case in America, maybe the UK, where someone gets cancelled from Twitter most commonly, and somehow their employer knows about this. Like someone messages him, or he just finds out because he follows Twitter, and he ends up firing the guy, which is kind of crazy to me. Like your job, your livelihood, being dependent on your Twitter clout and how much people hate you on there.
Yeah,
Even
hmm
when not being an entertainer, like not being on YouTube, not being a comedian, and still being able to be cancelled.
yeah, not
That's
being
crazy.
someone famous, but being
yeah,
judged by your
Yeah,
yeah,
you're not famous,
social
you're a nobody.
media
You're a
status. Yeah.
nobody, but you somehow still get cancelled.
yeah.
Well, so what solution do we come up with? Is there a way for us to be more open, just to put down the phone and try to be more outgoing? What if we try to talk to the people who is sitting next to us in the bus? Do you think it is going to help?
Well, I think that our lives have, and habits, daily habits, have pretty much adjusted to this to the phone, and we have created a routine in which the phone is basically irreplaceable. and I think that it would be really hard to put it down. And I think that people need more courage to do something like this, to talk with someone random, like in the bus, as you said. And to that, and I want to say that uh, today, I think it's when you when you ask a girl for her phone, I think they may find it, I mean, inappropriate or even pushing it too further. And I think that nowadays guys prefer to ask for a social media account like Instagram, uh, and they prefer this to asking for a girl's phone.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, asking a girl about her mobile number is something of the past century. Like,
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
maybe.
it's a
For
way that our
me,
habits
what
have changed.
Sorry, Sash. Sorry, Alex. Yeah. For me, I've tried limiting myself in any possible way, like turning my phone to grayscale and having applications to limit my screen time and removing social media from my homepage, like doing anything possibly to limit my like connection to the phone, because I remember in the past, like when I was say third grade or fourth grade kid, uh I didn't used to be so addicted to the phone, but somehow right now I'm waking up with it, I'm going to bed with it in like in day when something boring happens, when I'm in a boring situation, I once again look at my phone. I do it instinctively. I always check social media, even if it's not on my homepage. I lose a lot of time. And I think that just doing something courageous, which is not in the universe of your phone, like going up and talking to somebody random you find interesting, uh, just the courage of doing that, and just the fact that it's gonna take you out of the uh, closed mindedness that your phone puts you in. I think that on itself is gonna help you
make a
to get
difference.
over the phone. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And I also want to mention that I'm not an expert, and we all aren't experts, but do you think that it's not only about the amusement, but actually our inner desire for interaction? Because usually when I do this, I'm seeking interaction with someone, and I hope to see that somebody has texted me, but I end up scrolling through my stupid feed, which is only a waste of time, of course. So this leads me to the thought that this is probably caused by our inner desire, our need for interaction with people, our need for social contact that we don't get usually when we're outside and we seek it in the phone, but it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I can.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I can relate to this.
Well, and it is even ironic how we have this opportunity by having social media to text to other people, and this wasn't available to our predecessors, the past generations, like even 15 or 20 years ago. This wasn't such an easy thing, and now we can do it, but we don't. It
And
simply doesn't
we're
happen.
becoming even more and more distant, despite.
Yeah, the distance between us, between boys and girls and boys and girls is becoming even greater. I mean, I don't know what your observations are, but I personally believe that it's becoming harder and harder to find a partner whom you can share your thoughts with, whom you can actually be real with. Now that this thing about social media is taking all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually try. Like, I'm by nature quite introverted, but still, I have enough friends that if I start texting everybody, I almost always have somebody to hang out with. And still, I end up checking my social media a lot of times a day, and I also with girls can't seem to find a match. Like there is no perfect match, of course, but like someone I can hold a conversation with, and for instance, have sex with at the same time. Kind of
Yeah,
hard to do right now. Like I either get the sex, which is kind of good, or I either get the conversation, which is also good, but I want both because I'm greedy.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's only natural for the human nature to do it. Yeah.
yeah. Humans are greedy.
Well, now thinking about this, I have also noticed that people who are in a relationship or who are texting somebody they have a crush on, uh,
Yeah.
usually they feel more comfortable uh, both introducing themselves and confessing to their crush while on their phone instead of doing it in person.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it's not only about confessing an introduction, it's also about just talking to somebody in person. Like people tend to be more confident and have a higher self esteem when they're using their phone. But once you meet them
Yeah.
in person and try to be real with them, looking them into the eyes, they suddenly get very shy and unsociable.
Yeah, a lot of people can't hold conversations, which is crazy to me. For instance, if you go just talk to random people who seem very unsociable to you, you find out that most of them are just like very socially awkward. Like, let's say 8%, because there are still a lot of rude people, but most of them are just socially awkward and not able to talk to you properly.
and that's
Um,
due to all the texting.
yeah. I've met a lot of girls who I've talked with online, who in person are like a different person. Uh, let's say online they crack jokes. Uh, they're funny when they're cracking the jokes. They're
Yeah.
not some kind of puns. They're not boring. They hold conversation good. They're interesting. They have a lot of shit, a lot to share. And in person, you just like see a shy girl sitting there, not being able to look you in the eyes, which is crazy. Like the
Well,
difference is amazing.
I think some people use social media as some sort of a social escape, like stuffing their heads into the phone and preferring to stay there instead of talking to real people.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
yeah, that's
It has
another.
completely Yeah, it has completely changed our mindsets. And now, as kids tend to get their first mobile phone at a younger and younger age,
The ripe
it's
old age of two
yeah, the ripe old
or
age of
one.
2. Yeah, it's something that it's similar to something that our parents used to do with us when they would try to feed us and we wouldn't want to do it. So they played the TV, probably the commercials, and we would stare at them and they would feed us. But now it's becoming even more dangerous because kids usually hold the phone and interact with it. And when they go outside, they're supposed to do something physical, like physical activity. But usually, when they go out, their parent just gives them the phone and tells them to have fun, enjoy, and it's something that has really serious complications in my personal opinion because I've seen younger kids like the age of 10, 12, 13, and they're like really unsociable, unable to communicate in a real way. Even for example, I had something happened like a few days ago when I tried to talk with a kid who came to see a fencing competition, and he would open his phone and look at it, and he would refuse to just talk with me. Like when I started talking to him, he started talking back, and he would just look at his phone, talk to me, but without looking into my eyes. He would only talk on his phone, and then I ask him a question, and he doesn't seem to recognize my question. He just keeps on talking about that thing.
Yeah.
and I'm like, boy, do you hear me? I'm telling you to look at the piss,
Boy,
look the fencers are playing, and he's like, oh, do you play this game? And I'm like, boy, I'm talking to you. Don't you hear me? What I'm talking about? Uh,
Yeah,
I mean, like he's just I don't know, inadequate.
yeah,
even in sports, a lot of people right now do sports only because they kind of want the social points from it, like the benefits it's gonna give you in a social space. For
In terms
example,
of social
dancing.
interaction.
Yeah. For
Yeah,
example, I'm a dancer, and right now I go to the gym, and both in the dancer spaces, in the dancing spaces, like when you go to hip hop, most of the children there are there because they saw something cool on TikTok, or you go to the gym, and most people are kind of insecure and only there because they saw someone look good in front of a camera, and they wanted to look good as well, and it shows. It definitely shows.
yeah. I think the rise of social media and the portability of the phone and the easy access it gives you to internet and different apps. I think it has affected a lot of our lives a lot, and not only social skills, but as we mentioned, parenting skills and many other aspects of our lives.
Yeah, parenting has become a lot worse because right now you can just give a phone to a child and they'll do something by themselves for however long you want. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and
It's
this is depriving them from their contact with their parents because you need to have when you're young both contact enough contact with your parents and with people of your age and
you need attention.
yeah, you need attention. You need attention, because that's the period when you learn the most in your life compared to all other periods in your life. I mean, like your first years, like when you're 3, 4, 5 years old, you learn how to you learn the language. You basically acquire basic motor skills.
Yeah,
This is part of the mental development of a kid, and those periods are really important. And when your child skips them because it's looking on their phone and it doesn't have the opportunity to interact with other kids, it will for sure change in a negative way its mentality.
and
daddy issues,
also its
baby.
development.
Yeah, exactly that issues.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, so, do you think that, just as I asked you before, if we try to be more open to one another, like try to put down the phone and go to talk with that person who is sitting next to you, or that girl who is sitting on the bench 10 meters away from you, do you think it's going to help?
I think it's a step in the right direction, but I don't know if the other person would be that responsive and that keen to interacting with you, and I don't know if they would be interested. But I think that it's a step in the right direction, and I think we should do it more and more often, even though we are not really sure that it will work out.
You know, anytime you get out of your comfort zone, which is in this episode of our podcast, our phones, which is maybe the most widespread comfort zone right now, it helps. And talking with people who are just randomly sitting somewhere is gonna help. You're gonna probably get rejected a lot. It's gonna be very sucky for quite a while, but after you get over that, it's gonna be better, definitely.
Yeah, it's a part of the process, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you might have some luck. In fact, you never know.
Yeah, the only way to test how lucky you are is to try. So you need to try.
Yeah, maybe the other person is sitting on their phone because they also have no one to talk to, and are don't have the courage to interact socially.
My thought exactly. That's what I was going to say probably the
Yeah.
person next to you thinks the same, and they only need that spark of you going to talk with them in order to ignite their social uh, social
Social
skills.
stories.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to actually take part in a meaningful conversation.
Yeah, maybe. Some people just don't like speaking to people.
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that we've reached the end of this topic by now. We are probably going to continue talking about the phone in the next episodes of this playlist, but we're going to cover the other aspects, personal aspects of
Yeah.
how the phone affects you.
Yeah, it's a pretty extensive topic. So
Yeah.
Attention span you have like hygiene, everything. It's a lot to cover.
So you're going to see more from us, hopefully.
Yeah, hear more from us.
Hear more from us. I'll probably see more of us.
Yeah,
Uh,
we don't know yet.
yeah, if we receive more than 10 views, we will probably try and do a face reveal. But
Imagine.
this is not a promise. This is not a promise. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so thank you for watching us. Not watching us, listening to us. Yeah. I
Give
forgot
us
we were
more
making a
attention.
podcast.
Give
Yeah,
us
give us more
like,
attention.
give us
yeah. Thank
likes.
you. See you soon in our next episode.
Give us more attention. Like it, share it, do something. We are desperate.
Like, share, and subscribe. Yeah.
Yeah, every tutorial.
Okay, bye.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
guys. Bye, bye.